way back when I first started the channel, I did a series of videos that was intended to go through the entire gold box, the guide to the World of Greyhawk. And I kind of stopped after the glossography, and I thought I'd pick it up. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start reading through the guide to the World of Greyhawk today on Greyhawk Grognard. So I have no idea how many episodes this is going to go. I won't do this exclusively, but it'll be something that, every once in a while you'll see another one of these, and we'll eventually get through the whole thing. Now, just like the glossography, the guide is supposed to look like a leather-bound book with gems to make it look like it came out of the World of Greyhawk. If you go through that series, you'll see it. The first thing you see here, is that my copy is really beat up, and then the actual book is separated from the cover. But on the inside of the cover, you've got this beautiful heraldry, which was originally in the folio, but is reproduced here, along with a little more information about it. And if you are looking for heraldry out of Greyhawk that you can include in your own stuff, Anna Meyer on her website has a whole thing of heraldry, and it is gorgeous, and there's all kinds of variations, and there's stuff from the new kingdoms and so forth. It's and minor little things all over the place. So it's very extensive, very much of a recommendation. But one of the things here, you'll see we have the heraldry. It's probably a little too small to make out, but they give the colors and stuff for heraldry. And this is the first thing that you can see is different in the World of Greyhawk than it is in the real world, because in Greyhawk the colors are blue, green, purple, and red. In the real world, the heraldry colors include black, but black here is listed as a fur, and it's just sable is black. And that makes, I can see why that would make sense, but in real heraldry, sable is just, comes from the French word for black. It has nothing to do with like sable fur skins, from an animal, other than those skins are black. And furs refer to patterns of things. So we've got ermine, which is white with kind of a black spotting on it, like a real ermine fur. And here he's got vair, is red and tan repeating, which is not the case in real world. In real world, the fur vair is a blue and white repeating pattern. And one of the interesting things I noticed is there is no vair anywhere on the heraldry here, except for the town of Safeton has the real vair on it. So I don't know what's going on with that. At least it looks like the real vair. It's a little it's been a long time since my SCA days, I'll tell you that. But there's no vair according to his own definition of it, so I don't know what the hell to make of that. One of the things that I've mentioned before is, if you notice, like in the county of Sundi here, it's got this little fret, the box with the X in it. All of the nations of the Iron League have that, and it's kind of their identifier. Other things that they have that varies is the metals. In real world heraldry, there are two metals. There's gold and argent, white. I'm sorry, gold and silver. And in argent is it's a thing. Argent is white and ore is kind of a yellow. In his metals, however, we've got bronze, copper, gold, iron, and silver. So he's basing the heraldry metals on the coinage in the city of Greyhawk, and we know, except of course for the iron drabs, but there's bronze Z's as a coin in Greyhawk, and of course copper, gold, iron, and silver. I'm surprised we don't have an electrum or platinum in there too, but he's very much extended the number of metals, and that's an important thing, because in heraldry you can't have two metals next to each other, nor can you have two colors, or as he calls them, tinctures, next to each other. You have to have a color on a metal or a metal on a color. So by expanding the number of metals, you expand the number of color combinations you can have in your heraldry, which is something that I'm pretty sure would have been deliberate on his part, because when you just stick with the regular rule, it is a little limiting, because that means you must have yellow or white somewhere in your design of heraldry. By expanding the number of metals, you open up a whole vista of possibilities in terms of the aesthetics of it. So I think that's a very interesting thing. Now we come to the book, and separated from the cover. First thing we have here is volume 3. If we hearken back to the opening lines of the glossography, this is supposed to be the third in a multi-volume set that was created in the World of Greyhawk by the Savant Sage, and published in 576. And this is supposed to be the only volume that survived and presumably made its way to Earth. So, you know, it's an interesting thing. It's called A Catalogue of the Land Flanness, being the eastern portion of the continent Oerik of Earth. Then we got the credits, you know, as one would assume. And I'm just seeing, oh, and it does give a credit to David Axler for the weather system that we'll see, that we saw in the glossography, originally came out of Dragon Magazine and was kind of ported into Greyhawk, which was kind of neat. So the first section we have here, the Eastern Oerik in relation to the whole earth and the heavenly bodies. So basically, it's a couple of paragraphs. Again, this is all written in universe. So it's from the perspective of somebody who's living in, I think, Realm Mord, but in the Flanness. And he says, as is obvious, Oerik is the major continent because he lives on it, and the Flanness is the center of enlightened humanity, because again, that's where he lives, so of course he's going to think that. Little is known about the lands of Western Oerik, still less about the savage inhabitants of other continents, but such knowledge is, of course, of little use anyway and of no importance to humanity. I think that's Gygax trying to channel his inner 14th century medieval cartographer, who would naturally have had that attitude towards places that in far-flung corners of the world, except in medieval times, the center of the universe was Jerusalem, for obvious reasons. And, things in the far reaches of Africa or Asia were kind of like, it's not that important. How could it be? Because it's not Europe or Jerusalem. They go on about the zodiac. There are 12 layers of the zodiac. We end up learning a few of them in other products, but not the whole zodiac, which is interesting. I think it's been kind of fleshed in by fans over the years. We also learned that the sun travels once around Earth. Now, this is important because in a much later product called Gray Space, Earth is the center and the sun revolves around it. So you can take that as being this was written by someone with a medieval knowledge of astronomy, meaning he didn't get it right. But it's inverted, because in the real world, everybody thought that the Earth was the center of the universe and the sun revolved around it, and that turned out to be wrong. In the World of Greyhawk, it's the reverse. Everybody thinks that the sun is the center of the universe, but in reality, Earth is. So I like that. It's a neat inversion. I'm very sure it was not intended to be that way, because Gygax had no input onto Gray Space, and the Gray Space authors either didn't read or didn't care about this paragraph in here. But I like it. It ended up being a neat inversion, which I like a lot. And it gives the names of the moons, because Earth has 2 moons, and we get a couple of books here: Sever the Elders, Secrets of Ye Sky Revealed, and Yestro Bilnig's Astrology, Divinity, and Mankind, which I love his names. I love it just sounds so real. You get a real sense of verisimilitude with a lot of this material. Then we've got days and months of the year. Most Greyhawk fans are going to know all this already. You'll note that the sun revolves around in 364 days, which makes the calendar so much easier than in the real world, because we have 365 and a quarter, or give or take. So we have to have leap years and days never line up. In this system, the math works easily, and I'm sure that's very deliberate on Gygax's part. Not only do we have the regular months, each month has 28 days, each festival is 7 days, so you've got the 12 months plus 4 festivals, and it all adds up nicely. Not only do we have the regular names, but we also have Elvish names given to the months by the nomads, and then there's seasons. There's a low summer and high summer, in addition to spring and autumn and winter. So as Gygax puts it here, both spring and autumn are protracted seasons by and large. Summer in the central lands of Oerik lasts 5 or more months. So it's a very pleasing, warm climate, and you get the idea that they're in their equivalent of our medieval warming period. So most areas of the Flanaess have sufficient rainfall to assure abundant crops. Then we go into, and I'm not going to make this one last too much longer. We'll just do one more section here. We've got the trees common to the Flanaess, and this is something you gotta wonder. Why Gygax? I mean, other than his own, he likes trees. This is the kind of detail that you really don't see in most other products, that are, campaign products. Even to this day, you don't see these kinds of excursions spending 2 pages out of a 80-page book talking about the kinds of trees that are there. But not only does he give us, like the real world trees over here, but he invents a bunch of different trees: Declo trees, Galda trees, Cara trees, Hornwoods, Ip trees, Fost, Rowanwood, Sablewood, Usk, and Yarpix. I mean, there's a bunch, and they all have real stuff about them. It's not just like, oh, these have this kind of leaf. You can make tables out of this one, and these have thorns, and this has fruit that does this. I mean, it's all very feels real. And again, it's adding to that sense of verisimilitude that you really are reading something that was written by someone who lives in the world of Greyhawk. And it gives the DM a great opportunity of adding these little details to just constantly remind the players that, yeah, you're not in Earth anymore. You really are in Oerth, because in Oerth you're going to find Yarpik trees or Galda fruit, whereas you're not going to find that in the real world. And I think that's a very cool way of Gygax giving these tools to the DM to increase the feeling of realism of this fantasy world. So anyway, that was a first couple of pages. It's going to take us a while to get through this. It's a big book, but I also don't want to kill you by doing hour-long videos. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Reminder, my Patreon supporters are extraordinarily important to me. They help me make the free stuff that I can post on the blog or here or wherever. Every $1 I get from Patreon is $1 I don't have to get spending time to sell stuff, and I would much rather be writing free Greyhawk material rather than stuff that I have to sell. So please consider going to the Patreon. Link is below. Anyway, hope you like this one. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.